Sidney Gottesman. That was a great story from Matan, and hearing about a payment startup at scaling. I work for the FinSec Lab. I lead the FinSec Lab, which is a joint venture between another small payments company called Mastercard and a global energy company called Enel.
Sidney?
Yeah.
One closer. Yeah, and this works. Perfect.
Right.
Okay, I'll give you a minute.
So before we get started, I'd like to start with something personal. Many years ago, 35 years ago, when I got married, I promised my soon-to-be wife that we would move to Israel. Soon after getting married, you know, the first thing we have to do, like Matan said, save a little money, have kids, save a little money, buy a house, save a little money. 35 years later, I'm still trying to save a little money. But with the help of the one above, last week, my wife and I made Aliyah. The picture isn't the best, but let me tell you, Aliyah is not easy. But I also learned that with us today is another Oleh Hadash. Here's David Engel. David also. So I would say, isn't it remarkable? And I think it's a testament to the year that was near, and Tal described earlier. Israel's a happening country. Israel's a company for innovation, fintech, and cyber, and payments, etc. And it's attracting people coming from outside the country to join as immigrants, and my wife and I are delighted to be here. So I was going to talk a little bit about industry trends in 2021. I think with the introduction that Nir and Tal gave before, I'm going to skip that. And I'm just going to jump and say, why did, for all of those reasons that were described earlier, Mastercard and Enel decided to join forces to create the FinSec Innovation Lab? And along with all the other successes that we had in 2021, we also had the ribbon cutting event of the FinSec Lab in Beersheba. I'd like to share with you the highlights.
Use the microphone, because otherwise people at home will see it. Brilliant.
State of Israel.
We are super excited to have all of you here to celebrate our grand opening of our lab facility.
Since the FinSec Lab opened earlier this year, we've had over 100 applicants to the lab. We've screened 33, and 5 startups have joined our program. We hope that the FinSec Innovation Lab will be a center for education, for research and innovation. There's another reason why I'm super excited about the FinSec Lab. Simply stated, it's going to change my life.
It's very clear why Israel is leading in the space of cyber innovation. It's very clear why so much investment is coming into the country. There's an energy here which is really, quite frankly, I have not felt this anywhere else in the world.
In the FinTech Cyber Innovation Lab program, we're able to support innovative development of financial products and services, and by that promote Israel's leadership in the FinTech and cyber fields.
Why the FinTech Lab? One of the many activities that NLX does is serving the big NL in managing some of their customers.
Israel for innovators is like Disneyland for kids, an amazing place where we can nurture our creativity, enhance our passion, and implement innovation, real innovation.
What we're going to do here, and we begin to do here, is to build the solutions to make sure that mankind, and that's our vision here in Beersheba, to help mankind, the world, to be a safer and better place to conduct business, to purchase, to make business exchanges of everything more connected, more bringing people together in a safe and secure way. And this innovation lab is one of the major steps.
Today is a day of celebration, celebrating the great innovation that will come out of this lab, and the fact that many new startups will succeed from Beersheba. This is something that we also want to celebrate today, and I'm sure that eventually there will be a great boom coming out of Beersheba as a new high-tech hub for the country and for the world.
היום אנחנו חונכים את הפרויקט הראשון מסוגו של קישוריות בין גופי ממשלה לבין גופים פרטיים. מוצרי פינטק במרחב הפיננסי הם עובדה קיימת שרק תלך ותתעצם.
בשבוע שעבר חגגנו את יום בן גוריון. מבחינתי זה אחד החגים הגדולים ביותר בתולדות מדינת ישראל. אני חושב שרוחו של בן גוריון שורה כאן באוהל הזה. ובן גוריון רוצה להגיד לך ולכם עד כמה הוא גאה בכם. אתם רשומים בספר הזהב של מדינת ישראל.
I get goosebumps every time Mayor Rubik Danalovich says I'm part of the Golden Book of the State of Israel. So it's a wonderful story. So let me tell you a little bit about the FinSec Lab. We're an innovation authority, sponsored franchise labs in Beersheba, focusing on cyber and fintech. We have a 3-year franchise from the Innovation Authority with an opportunity to renew for another 3 years. We're located in the Gottesman Mega Technology Park, which is a center to tens, if not almost 100 cyber companies, fintech and cyber companies, with expansion football fields wide. Planned growth in the areas. We feel we're getting at the ground floor. What's the business model? What's the business model of an IIA Innovation Lab in general? It starts with the startup on the left. They're an early stage startup. There's a focus on early stage startups. Is able to apply to the IIA for a grant up to $500,000 shekel. That grant needs to be spent in conjunction with the IIA Innovation Lab, in our case with us. We would provide services such as, which I'll describe it later, mentoring, completing proof of concept, networking, connection with our shareholders, etc. And in return, the Innovation Lab gets a small piece of equity in the startup getting in at the ground floor. Our focus areas. These should resonate very clearly from some of the topics that were mentioned earlier in terms of investments happening in Israel, cyber, digital. I would highlight digital security, and obviously on the lower left, fintech platforms, digital wallets, open banking, and crypto, as well as anything in the area of fraud prevention on the bottom center. Here's our team. I've been with Mastercard for 10 years. Thanos Mafiopoulos is our Chief Business Officer. He comes from NEL. Yafan is our Business Development Officer. Sharon is our Operations Manager. Raul is our CTO, and Sagir, our Solution Architect. They'll please get a chance to meet with them, and you'll be hearing from Lufave. What's the value proposition of our lab? So we provide it in 3 pillars: business support, technology support, design partnership. We provide office space, mentoring from our lab staff. We're able to provide access to funding, both from the IIA as well as our own. We provide access to technology, to data as appropriate. We do a comprehensive solution architecture with the startup, and we work with the startup to complete proof of concept to bring their product to MVP. With connections to our shareholders, we're able to provide subject matter expertise in certain areas. We connect them to our partners in the government, the IIA, National Cyber Director, and the Ministry of Finance. So let me just touch on quickly a little bit about our shareholders, which is a really unique opportunity for an early stage startup to deal with global companies. First, Enel. So Enel is the world's #1 producer of renewable energy. Millions of customers, thousands of employees. They operate in 34 countries. And I would add, they have an award-winning global innovation program called Open Innovability, which has like 15 labs and hubs around the world. Enel X in financial services is a diversifying business unit of Enel going into financial services. The Enel X model is twofold. First is to assist customers to get more sustainable and efficient use of energy, which may not be as relevant to this group, but also creation of new sort of value through new products and services. Those products and services will be across business to government, B2B and B2C. And you see on the bottom, maybe you can't see it, in financial services, they're looking for a common technology to provide against all three pillars. A little bit about Mastercard, a small payments company. So Mastercard switches over operates, I should start here, in hundreds of countries, connects thousands of banks, millions of merchants, switches billions of transactions with a gross dollar value in trillions of dollars. There are over 3 billion Mastercard's logos issued worldwide, and we make billions of dollars in our income. Mastercard also has a globally award-winning innovation program called StartPath for later stage startups, which has taken through over 250 startups to the program, and those startups have gone on to raise $3.some billion. I want to touch on Mastercard. Very often we are told that Mastercard is a credit card company. That's not the case. Mastercard is a technology company. Our core value is pay to merchant, very similar to what Tom was talking about in other areas. We perfected and scaled the pay to merchant payment process. It's a four-party model because it starts with the cardholder, the merchant, the acquirer, and the issuer. I'll just step through it quickly. The process starts with the cardholder wants to buy something, a cup of coffee, a TV, book a flight, and they give the card to the merchant. The merchant has to know whether the cardholder is good for the money, so they send it to their bank called the acquirer. The acquirer forwards it to Mastercard, Mastercard forwards it to the issuer, and the issuer says, yes, Sidney Gottesman is good for the money. So they return a response and they say, it's all the way good, the payment is guaranteed, and the merchant can give the coffee, the TV, etc., and everybody's happy at that point, right? There's one more step, I forgot. The issuer says to the consumer, pay me. So that may be the consumer is not so happy he has to pay, but eventually that's the process that's done billions of times a year. I should add that this process is also used for ATM processing to retrieve cash from ATMs. In Israel, it's a little bit different. In Israel, both the acquirer and the issuer are Israeli companies. There's a little bit of a different route on the left, which is using, you might have heard of Shebut Bank Automatic, and Shvat kind of does it without the benefit of MasterCard, but if it's a foreign card making a purchase in Israel, it follows the path I mentioned earlier, the payment flow on the right. MasterCard's strategy, I'll just touch on it quickly, is to expand in payments. What Matan said earlier is absolutely true. The payment merchant category can cover is a small segment of the total payment ecospace, disbursements, government payments, cross-border payments, etc. So we want to expand in payments, extend in services, covering others. Business models such as cyber, artificial intelligence, and lastly, to embrace new networks such as digital identity and open banking. We've done a series of acquisitions. I'll touch on a few of them. Finicity in 2020 is an open banking platform that enables our banks, our customers to deploy open banking. In 2020 also, we acquired a small cyber company called Strategic based in Israel, which does cyber risk assessments. In 2021, at the end of last year, we acquired CipherTrace, which is a crypto risk management tool. And finally, at the end of 2021, we acquired the Dynamic Yield, which is an Israeli-based global company that does the digital consumer experience. We believe that we're the partner of choice for early stage startups. For startups in general, the The FinSec Lab is focused on early stage startups. The StarCraft program, which I mentioned earlier, is focused on later stage startups. And we also provide services such as FinTech Express, which enables a startup to receive a license for money for payments. And finally, in the center of the bottom, we have an open banking platform, an open API platform called Developer Zone. We're able to get APIs for payments, security, loyalty, data, etc. So come join us in FinSec Lab.